Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our episode 4 of Sembang Literasi Media. So today we will be talking about empowering rural communities with media literacy. Okay. First and foremost, allow me to introduce myself really briefly. I am Marina from University Putra, Malaysia. I am one of the co-founders of the MEFA movement, the Media Education for All movement, and along with Sir Hazwan, we will be your host and manager for this evening. All right, so the objectives of our Sembang episode for today is pretty much to increase the awareness on media and information literacy among educators, and to somewhat share perspectives on the challenges and opportunities to empower rural students, teachers, and communities with media information and literacy. And last but not least, we would want to encourage teachers to participate in the Media Education Academy, or the MEA, and Media Education Academy Challenge, the MEAC. All right. So today, for this evening, we have with us brilliant panelists. The first one is Sir Samuel, and the second one is Cikgu Nazmi, and the third one is Teacher Sahara. All right. So before we begin, let me kind of like briefly gloss through as to why media and information literacy. The thing is, our country is one of the most connected countries in the world, and we spend most of our daily lives connected to the internet. So imagine this massive stream of information, the true ones, the fake ones, coming in through our lives 24/7. So MEFA, MEFA, we aim to highlight the importance of media and information literacy in mainstream education through 4 main initiatives that focus on providing educators with the right tools, the right skills and knowledge to process information. And these initiatives will be driven by educators and supported by media practitioners as mentors. And this is not to forget to mention about the Media Education for All is actually an initiative by Arus Academy. All right, they are a change maker in education through empowering and exciting learning programs, and they offer this through their collaboration with The Fourth, which is a collective of renowned impact and investigative journalists in Malaysia. Okay, so before we kind of like introduce you to the speakers or the panelists for this evening, let's go ahead and watch Why Media Education for All. So, Sir Hazman, why don't you roll over the video?
Dakwaan mengenai 13 Menteri Kabinet didapati positif COVID-19 adalah berita palsu.
Sebanyak 85 kes berita palsu sedang disiasat. Saya sendiri pun menjadi mangsa kepada penyebaran berita palsu.
%43% rakyat Malaysia adalah pemuda. Kita perlu mulakan pelajaran untuk media literasi dari muda. Jika kita mengajar satu pemuda, kita hanya mengajar satu pemuda. Tetapi dengan pendidik, kita boleh mengajar satu generasi anak murid.
When I see my students, a lot of them are innocent. They will believe everything that is online. That's why they need to education to know, okay, which one they can follow, which one they cannot, and learn how to filter.
For the teachers that are here, you have a unique opportunity to engage with them about media literacy that sometimes journalists don't even have. We get 3 minutes on Facebook, but you guys get to constantly reinforce a message.
Suasana bilik darjah tersebut adalah suasana yang terbaik bagi saya untuk mempelajari sesuatu, dan apabila kita menginstitusikan pengajian berkenaan dengan media, berkenaan dengan bagaimana kita membaca sesuatu berita, mendapatkan maklumat di atas internet, saya kira ini akan menjadikan pelajar tersebut ada struktur di situ yang mudah mereka fahami.
I think media literacy is very important because our students are all on social media, and that is quite an uncontrolled medium of news. This is something that's really crucial for this time and age for our students.
Handphone dah ada kat tangan masing-masing. Kita ada akses to internet 24 jam. Bila lagi kalau bukan sekarang untuk kita educate orang ramai ataupun rakyat Malaysia yang tercinta ni tentang media literacy.
As a teacher, you have to teach them more than just your subject. You have to get them ready to be able to live and to function well in our society. For me personally, it's a really meaningful initiative to be a part of.
InsyaAllah saya yakin kalau rakyat Malaysia semua mempunyai media literacy skill, kemahiran yang lebih tinggi, insyaAllah Malaysia akan jadi lebih maju, lebih harmoni, lebih aman damai dan lebih sensitif dengan apa yang ada dekat sekeliling mereka.
Okay. All right. So one of the biggest challenges of today's generation is how to become critical consumers of information. Now, allow me to introduce you to our co-founders, the Media Education for All co-founders. Yeah, we as the teachers, or we as the educators, we believe that teachers play a pivotal role to raise youth who are analytical and assertive, starting within the classrooms. So we're a team of 15 passionate educators from all walks of academic settings and different regions throughout the country who are dedicated to help promote media literacy to all, one educator at a time. This is not kind of like a top-down kind of, initiative, but it's more of like a self-driven, self-initiated initiative, to help propel the media literacy for all movement. And we come from both public and private schools at the primary level, at the secondary level, and we also come from private and public HEIs, or higher education institutions. All right. As for the media mentors, we have 11 media mentors, media practitioner mentors on board with us, who shared with us on-the-ground perspectives on media landscape in the country, because we wanted to develop a training course that is based on the Malaysian context and one that is kind of like unique to our own needs. And they are experts in the fields of mainstream and independent media organizations such as Astro Awani, Malay Mail, China Press, The Star, and all the way to Chili Sauce, Between the Lines, and the Center of Independent Journalism. Right. So this is pretty much like what we're going to be doing today. So there's going to be an introduction to the panelists, and we'll have some sort of a discussion with our three panelists on how to empower rural communities with the media literacy. And we'll have a Q&A session. We'll take in questions from the audience, and we'll then end with closing remarks and some important announcements to make. All right, so the first speaker. Allow me to introduce Cikgu Muhammad Nazmi bin Rosli. He's very young, but his achievement is just listless to actually say everything in just a very short session. So this multi-award-winning Cikgu Nazmi is an open-minded person with a cheerful and optimistic disposition. Cikgu Nazmi graduated from IPG Campus Sarawak Miri back in 2016 and has served 4 years in a rural area, Kampung Long Sukang, as an English teacher, and is currently appointed as a senior assistant, or a PK1, in SK Wagan Lawas. So among the many things that he has achieved at such a very young age, he has actually invented Danger Room, which was recognized as the best 21st century teaching method in Malaysia by the Ministry of Education, which then won him the Adiwira 21st Century Teaching Campaign, the PAC 21, or Pendidikan Alam Baru 21. And then winner of McDonald's Inspiring Teachers Award of 2019. And he was actually listed by the Ministry of Education as top 100 Malaysian edufluencers. And UNIMAS acknowledged him as the gamification ambassador And then in 2020, when we had the pandemic outbreak, he initiated the homework delivery, which is the first school in Malaysia to respond to COVID-19 to help rural schools, which then won him the Star Golden Heart Award of 2020. He then went on to win Taylor's College Rise Educator 2021 award, and currently he is busy building the Ruai Fund, a fund that focuses on helping students from indigenous communities from all over Malaysia. Now, Cikgu Nazmi is at the stage of his life and career where he thinks that he should be doing so much more to help people, and that's really inspiring. And he says that his passion is focused in helping empower the rural communities through quality, accessible education. So, and with this, I would like to welcome Cikgu Nazmi to the floor. All right, so moving on next. This great man requires very little introduction. I think most of us know him, right? So Sir Samuel Azaya. Let me read a little bit of his background. So Samuel Azaya is a passionate and driven educator and leader that strives to bridge the gap between theory and practice by challenging the status quo and leading collaborative changes. Samuel, or Sam, who was serving in a rural indigenous school in Pahang for 10 years, has just completed his master's degree in educational policy under the illustrious Fulbright Scholarship. This award-winning educator was recently named as the top finalist of the prestigious Global Teacher Prize 2020. And for those in the teaching world, it's like winning a Nobel laureate, right? He believes that his prowess and achievement stems from effectively thinking and translating frameworks, policies, and leadership in relevance to culture, context, and society. So welcome, Sir Samuel. Last but not least, our teacher, Sahara Abdullah. Right. So teacher Sahara Abdullah loves to broaden her horizon and learn new teaching techniques to improve her pedagogical skills. She's based in Sungai Petani, Kedah, and she's into her 12th year of teaching right now. Sahara is currently teaching in SMK Jerai Kupang, Bali, and has taken part in various programs abroad, such as the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization's language workshops in Singapore, as well as Fulbright Teaching Excellence and Achievement Program in California. She is also one of the co-founders of the Mayfair movement. So welcome, teacher Sahara.
Hi.
Okay. All right. So before we go on to show you more exciting videos, so Sahara's on board right now. Before we jump into talking about the deeper issues of how to empower the rural communities with MIL. So teacher Sahara, would you like to tell us a bit more on what MIL is about? And most importantly, what does media and information literacy mean to you as a teacher? And what made you decide to get on board with the Mayfair movement? Go ahead, teacher Sahara.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good day to everyone. Okay, for me personally, when you ask about media literacy, is the ability to access, analyze, evaluate and create a media. Okay, students have to be well versed in it. Okay, we teachers or educators are not only responsible in teaching the 3M, okay, mengira, membaca and all those things. We also have to teach them about media literacy. Okay, media literate youth and adults are better able to understand the complex messages we receive from television, okay, radio, internet, newspapers, magazines, books, billboards, video games, music, and all other forms of media. So basically, this is what media literacy and why we have to educate pupils about media literacy. You're muted, Marina. Marina, you're muted.
Sorry, how did I go on mute? All right, so would you like to tell us a bit more about the Media Education Academy?
Okay, I joined Media Education Academy in year 2020 as all of us as the co-founders. Okay, Media Education for All, or MIFA, is a first national movement composed of educators and media practitioners to bring media and information literacy to all. Okay, so MIFA which is also known as ME4A, okay, hopes to empower our youth to be media users who are critical, discerning, and assertive. The movement is facilitated by Arus Academy. Okay, so educators, teachers, everyone can actually enroll for media and information literacy course and know more about it. Educators can join the Telegram group, okay, and to get more updates about all the programs conducted by Media Education for All, or Arus Academy.
All right, thank you, Sahara. So, Sir Sam, you have been teaching Orang Asli children for years on end. In rural areas, tell us, how do students normally seek for information and receive information? And do they do any fact checking on these information? Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Hello everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me? Yeah, is it clear?
Yes.
All right. First of all, just like to thank Arus Academy and V4 for inviting me for the Empowering Rural Communities with Media Literacy Forum. I think it's a pleasure to share a stage with Marina, Sahara, my good friends, Nazmi as well. And I really like what Arus is doing. I think you're putting teachers in positions as co-founders to drive these kind of changes. And I think that is most important and it's very applaudable. Back to your question, you asked me how would I rate media literacy skills. Well, honestly, I think that this depends on the context of what media is and how it's perceived in different localities. For instance, this is just based on my opinion and my experience, of course. In kampungs, like what the makcik sebelah rumah would be gossiping about and say something about someone else from another village, and it spreads like wildfire. And that could be a source of media as well, stories. Nobody tends to check its legitimacy. And because this idea of storytelling, telling narratives is deeply rooted in our culture. So when fake news comes, right, it's usually spread very easily because we are just so eager to talk about it. But back to your question, I think like in very remote areas, I think social media is still a bit rare. I think Nazmi could probably agree with me on that. I think they still rely on mass media, as in from TVs and from newspapers. So in the context of what we are discussing today, which I believe is focused on content mostly from social media, WhatsApp messages, viral messages in the video that you showed just now, I certainly think that rural children, communities, and students, they lack the necessary skills. And I think it's mainly because of the lack of exposure, the lack of connectivity, the lack of facilities. And at the same time, I think, the community themselves don't see this as an issue. There's a lack of an awareness in the community itself. But I also think this is a problem in urban areas as well, you look at people like the older generation, like somebody was sending me the other day about coconut water and COVID, and I was just slapping my forehead over and over again. So yeah, I think it's an issue for all of us, but significantly for rural communities. I'd just like to wrap up my point by saying that as much as consumers, as in communities and students, are responsible, I also think those producing the media should be responsible as well. So it should be looked at from different perspectives. So yeah, they lack the necessary skills, most definitely.
Sir Chucky, Cikgu Nazmi, or Teacher Sahara, would you agree, or do you have anything to add to that? Cikgu Nazmi, you teach in Sarawak, yeah? So do you experience the same thing as well there?
I actually agree with Sam because in my situation, in my community where I've been teaching, the news was shared to like gossip, like Makcik Bawang. They are faster than the murai.com. That's literally the istilah we use here. They are faster than the murai.com. So there's a lot of factors contributing to this, and I totally agree with Sam. And of course, teachers here, we are dedicating ourselves to help our children here in any way, including in the aspect of media and information literacy.
Right, right. So
Yes.
back to Sam just now, since you teach with, a special group of children, you see, the Orang Asli children. So, numerous studies have actually shown the negative impacts of, misinformation, disinformation. It can have negative effects on people's mental health, the anxiety, the depression, and, of course, the massive drop in empathy levels, in fact. So, having taught in Orang Asli, mingling around with Orang Asli communities, have you actually seen this firsthand on how media or information disorder has happened within the community? What sort of examples could you tell us or share with us?
Well, Marina, I think life in rural communities and rural areas is pretty much very simple. Very little ones. They embrace values, familial values. They trust one another. They do things together. The kids jumping in the river, gotong royong, and all that. It's pretty much part. And honestly, I mean, besides the whole media literacy thing, there's lots for us to learn from them. And I think one of the main reasons why they still hold on to these kind of values could be because, in my opinion, social media and technology still does not play a huge role in their lives.
Yeah,
exactly. As much as, like, for me, yeah, true. Like for you and I, perhaps we can't go like probably even an hour without your phone, and it's not the same. It's not the same. But with that being said, I think it's going to get there very, very soon. Right? It's definitely going to get there very soon. The reliance of technology at every corner of the world has been accelerated, especially because of the pandemic. And I assume that the issues that you outline, perhaps it's not an issue right now, in my opinion, but it could be a very huge concern in the near future. And I believe that we should definitely start right away, in creating this awareness before it's too late. Because in creating that awareness, in developing media literacy skills, creating, being responsible of what they produce or what they talk about, recognize various and different point of views. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's not about Nazmi, Samuel, Sahara telling our students what's right and what's wrong. But what's important, it's never going to be as important as the process of deliberating, of understanding, of exchanging ideas, of debating with one another, to they themselves actually, coming up with the understanding of what's right and what's wrong. And I think Nazmi and Sahara can agree with me that if teachers play an active role in this, we might actually learn more from our students about what's right and what's wrong than we ever thought that we actually knew about. So yeah, I think the process is going to be long. It's definitely going to be long. It's going to take some time. But I think with efforts like sorry.
No, it definitely is a long process, but we have to start somewhere. Right?
Definitely, yeah, and we should start now. Most definitely, we should start now, right away.
Right. Thank you, Sam. Well, let's talk about misconceptions. Misconceptions on media literacy right now, right? So, Nazmi, what are the misconceptions that a teacher might have about teaching media information literacy? So, is media information literacy all about technology? And therefore, if rural communities are far remote from, technology, so it means that they don't need it as much as the mainstream community? What do you think?
Let me tell you the situation, what happened in the place where I'm teaching. Okay. It was pretty isolated from the outside world, and teacher play a huge role where the teacher can connect the outside world with the student and the communities. So one of the biggest misconception is this happened among a lot of teachers who got posted in the rural area. Whenever they heard any terms that they think it's tightly connected with technology and modern appliances, they immediately say, "Oh no, not my school, we don't have electricity. We only have electricity from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 or 11 p.m. Like that's it. There's no TV. My phone there was basically this alarm clock, right? So like Sam said just now, sooner or later, we will improve how we teach with through technology and all. But the misconception comes where like the terms of media and information literacy. You said, oh, media, oh, it's about technology. No, we cannot apply it here. We cannot implement it here. Back in 2020, where the pandemic started, there's a lot of program competition conducted by the JPN, by the KPM, but they come with the terms virtual competition. Then a lot of these Google school, they don't want to participate. We can't do that. We don't want to do this. We don't have the gadget. We don't have the connection to join them, to join all these activities. So one of the misconception is the media. Teachers need to be aware that this kind of awareness is important for the student because it's not only related connected to technology. For example, in my school, we still deliver newspaper to the ketua kampung. There's a lot of people share news and all using newspapers, using magazine, all. Only there's a few part in my place where a lighter app can be used, such as WhatsApp. Now here, what happened is these parents, they cannot go to make quicker or on the spot research or deeper research when they receive an information. That's what happened here. But what happened is this teacher don't have the awareness. It's like, why would I teach this kind of stuff to them, because it's not applicable here. And what happened to the school admins, they'll be like, we don't have to stress on this, we don't have to emphasize on this to the student because they will stay here, they won't go anywhere, so it's no use for them. So that's the term, that's literally the term, it's no use for them. So
it's the mindset, yes? It's the mindset.
Yeah, it's the mindset.
Right.
So can I say something that
Go ahead, Sarah.
when we say about media literacy, as what just now Sir Nazmi said, it's only not involving media. I mean, it is not only involving technology. So it's like a newspaper. When the student or someone reads the newspaper, how biased they are, that are all comes under media literacy skill. So when, let's say when we read something, right? So we are towards it, but we didn't think about the other side. So this is also another skill. How are we perceiving the message we receive? So I think it's a lot of misconceptions happening around, in Malaysia when we talk about media literacy, especially in rural areas.
Right, and that's why media literacy education is important, right? So Sahara, teaching in Baling, in Semenanjung, right? What are the challenges that you face in trying to start, inculcating the media information literacy within your community or at least within your school?
So as I mentioned earlier, yes, people have their misconceptions, and also it is like some people think that it should be learned in a higher education level. It should be like in certain level of our age, then that's when we have to know about it. Whereas media education or media literacy should start from preschool. Okay, students have to know from very young age. We have to teach our child or our students or anyone around us that it should be starting from the young age. Nowadays children 2 years, 3 years, they're already holding their handphones, okay, watching TV, whatever. So how are we going to do that? These are the challenges, because people currently in Malaysia, they are not really they do not know what is media literacy. When you ask maybe only like 10%, 20% can really talk and you ask about media literacy. Not everyone know about it. So this is the major thing. And sometimes when they heard about the topic itself, media literacy or literacy, media doesn't come to mind. But when it says media literacy, they think that it's for English educators, those who know English very well. So it's not for other subject. It's not like for other subjects to incorporate in their lesson. So these are the challenges always appears around, I think, in rural areas.
Exactly. So, if I can synthesize about, Chucky saying about stereotype, about mindset. But the thing about mindset is that, information and media can actually also influence your beliefs, right? And your decision-making processes, your day-to-day decisions. So, Sahara, again, to what extent is this a positive or negative influence? And I wonder what you have done, in class before when it comes to, that dealing with the mindset and things like that.
Okay, recently I have conducted a project. Let's hear what my students say. Just a short clip for 30 seconds.
That would be awesome.
Image search is one of the fundamental skills in media literacy. Apart from this, 74% of our respondents admitted that they rarely check the authenticity of news that they got. Isn't this dangerous? Can you imagine of false news being spread widely and causing chaos in the country? This is the main reason which provoked us to conduct this project.
Yes, recently I conducted a project-based learning among my students. So they were actually telling others how to conduct reverse image search. And if we ask people who are currently joining us how to do reverse image search, maybe they might also have do not know how to do it, right? So this is, I feel, that very easy step where you can actually check the authenticity of images we receive. So through our 100 respondents, 74% actually agreed that they didn't check the authenticity of message where they pass to others. So can you imagine what will happen if, let's say, they just forward every messages, all the information they receive, or even when they read a text, right? They just pass it through to someone without looking at it whether it's fake or it's true or not. So the consequences is really I feel like it's really a lot. Okay, so and it can really create chaos in our community in Malaysia. I mean, in the country itself. So I feel these are the things we have to incorporate in our lessons, teach our students that okay, it's not like we do it separately. Okay, during our lessons, we can actually include or incorporate during each and every lesson, like when we show them the pictures, example, or a text. So how are they going through the text? So when they read the news, how are they going through the news? When, okay, let's say they are reading about a news or a text about social media. So what is their thinking about that? Okay, so are they into it? Or are they thinking otherwise? So we have to really consider all those things. And also, this is how actually I tell my students. So it's not teach or taught separately. It is incorporated through maybe verbally. It's not that we have to do it in activities. We have to conduct activities, plan the lesson for media literacy and all those things. But we can just say a word, say a sentence, and make them understand. That's the thing.
The key here is that the teachers need to have that basic knowledge of media literacy, and therefore they would then be able to kind of like seamlessly embed within their lessons, right? Without having to separate and dedicate like a special time for, I'm teaching you media literacy skills today. So as in, it always has to start with the teachers first, yeah? Okay, Nazmi, you're kind of like the ultra innovative one out of us lot here, right? And I'm sure that all the teachers out there are dying to know, as an innovative teacher, right? How can we as educators incorporate MIL or media information literacy into our lessons? Especially teachers in the rural communities.
Like Sarah said just now, when it comes to the term media, people easily connect it with the internet, with the technology, and also the mindset, the misconception is be we cannot teach that in the school. We cannot put that in the syllabus because we don't have all these facilities. We don't have electricity, we don't have computer, laptops, and all. But I think one of the way we can easily implement this lesson is by teach the kids to semak dulu baru sebal. Simply by check it first before they present to everyone, before they share. One of the lesson that I saw one of my teacher, my science teacher in my school previously did is by they ask the kids to present about animal characteristic by asking them to make a research and then to debunk all the mythical stuff about this animal. For example, there's a three-horned rabbit in Sahara desert, for example. So the kids been looking, been searching and all, and then they're able to present. One of the lessons I'm able to implement is there's one lessons where I use 3 students. One of the student is a thief. Yeah, this is in one of the syllabus in year 5 or year 4 in English. So there's a lot of information given to these 3 characters, and the students' job, they are younger detective. They want to solve this crime. So their job is to go around to the school, they meet teachers and all to get the real information about these 3 suspects. So there's like a treasure hunt where they gather information just to know which information is real, which information is false. So this is what happened actually. What happened in these rural communities? Like last year, there's a rumors that like there's a 12 case of positive COVID-19, which like Saharah said, it caused chaos in this rural in Long Sukang, in where I'm teaching, where the villagers start to look for transportation to get out from the pedalaman zone. It's like crazy chaotic that time. So apparently there's no case at all. No case at all. There's a KKM there. There's a Wakil Kesihatan also there. They confirm there's 0 case. It just like spread like wildfire, like nothing is, and it caused chaos. So in my lesson, I taught them to, number 1, go deep in your research before you share it out. You don't care where you get the information, from WhatsApp, from television, from any kind of media, even from the Makcik Bawang themselves. Here in this community, the Makcik Bawang is so powerful. They can spread the news like, So, and it's also the teacher's job, because teachers able to connect the communities and the students with the outside world. One of the things that our school do last year is to bring. This is after the school reopening. Is to bring the representative from the KKM to tell them the real fact about this virus, because we also stumbled with that news that Sam read, where coconut water can cure COVID, which is totally nonsense. So we have to bring someone else, and the person who can do that in the school is obviously the teachers. They know the real news. They know what happened outside there, because here in this community they are isolated from the real world outside. They don't have TV. They don't have radio and stuff like that. It's only few are privileged enough to have TV and radio. And if they have WhatsApp, there's a few places they can use WhatsApp. They cannot go to make on the spot or deeper research about that. So actually, there's a lot of things. Even if you are in a rural school, you can do a lot of things to spread the awareness about media literacy.
That is very true. So your first point on mere nudging, like nudging people to be aware about what they read, whether it's true or not, can actually significantly increase the probability of them the probability of decreasing the probability of them spreading false news. The thing with people spreading false news is that we mindlessly share. So I've been reading this a very recent research paper saying that mere nudging, just nudging, is what you're reading true or false. So just merely nudging kids to evaluate or to consider the true, the truth value of a piece of information is enough to actually curb spread of misinformation. So, which means that it doesn't take a lot to actually inculcate these things in class, right? Sam, I'm going to ask you, a heavier question, since you're, an educator leader, right? You're an institution leader. So, what opportunities do we have to reach out in rural communities? What can we do as teachers or school leaders to spread awareness on MIL within the rural communities? And also, we also cannot deny that community involvement is extremely crucial in this whole effort. So how can teachers reach out to parents and community leaders in the area, you think?
Well, first of all, teachers have got to realize that teaching does not happen alone. It needs to involve, it needs to engage our most important stakeholders, which is, for me, number one, it should be the students, it should be the community, it should be the families, the community members, the community leaders. And a lot of times we do this so-called quote-unquote engagement as a token, just to buat cukup syarat, as they usually say, just tanya je lah, saya dah tanya. It doesn't work that way. You need to actively involve them throughout the whole process. And I think people like Nazmi and Sahara would probably agree with me as well. When they are actively involved throughout the process, from the beginning, in the middle, at the end, in the reflection, in the post-mortem, in the doing the programs again and again, the program itself becomes sustainable. The process of administering that or implementing that program itself becomes the teaching instead of just the program. On top of that, I think teachers should attempt to collaborate. Don't work alone. Don't work in silos. Reach out. And I think what MIFO is doing is in that spirit as well. In that spirit of collaboration, because if Arus Academy does not collaborate with teachers and they do it on their own, it's just not going to work. And if teachers don't collaborate with the students, it's not going to work as well. We need to work together. But unfortunately, a lot of us, we love to work in silos. We love to work alone. We just love to dictate everything on our own terms. Is it easier? Of course, when you work alone, it's easier, definitely. But you remove that crucial learning from one another effect of how you can learn and collaborate and make your programs better. Secondly, I think as teachers, we need to be evidence-based ourselves. That is the foundation of media literacy, to base whatever you say and whatever you do on evidence. So we must not rush to solutions, and we must not assume that we know the answers. We ourselves as teachers need to portray good practices, not just in what we promote, as in media literacy, but what we do in our daily practice as teachers. Our students watch this all the time, whether we realize it or not, they're watching us. So thinking critically about a matter, coming up with supporting evidences before you decide something for your students, debating with your students, getting them engaged. Now, let's take away the technology. Let's take away media literacy, for example. Teachers themselves have got to be critical. So before we even talk about media literacy, are we promoting teachers to become critical themselves? As teachers in the classroom, are we encouraging our students to question? These are fundamental practices. Are we empowering them? Are we actually providing them the autonomy? Do we allow them to make mistakes? Are we giving them that safe space to make mistakes, or are we just engrossed in perfection? If they disagree with us, what do we do? If your students just disagree with you, teacher, I don't agree with you. Most teachers will probably get offended because so it starts with us, If not, we are just contradicting ourselves. We are contradicting our values. So our values as educators, it's very important, because you can practice, you cannot be critical, you're not going to engage your students in your decision making, you're not going to allow them to disagree with you, and then you're trying, I'm going to teach you about media literacy. It's not going to work that way. Both aspects of it has got to come together. And lastly, before I conclude, I think for special communities like Orang Asli communities, in whatever programs that we do, including media literacy, we need to immerse them and we need to include different cultural perspectives. And as teachers, it is important to identify the role of media in that particular community's culture. We cannot generalize. We cannot generalize. What's for me is not the same for Nazmi. What's for Nazmi is not the same as for Sahara. What's for Sahara is not the same as for you, Marina. So yeah, and this will encourage them to actually embrace the idea of media literacy, not just as a concept, but a fundamental value, of which I believe this is what Arus and MIFO is attempting to do, is to empower students with these kind of values.
I can't agree with you more when you start talking about the cultural part. The thing with teachers, and policymakers, we tend to be prescriptive in nature and thinking that we know what's best for people, and therefore, we prescribe people like you need this, and we fail to factor in that the most, integral part is the culture, right? And we then blame them for, so we teach people the way we would teach a mainstream child how to read, and it doesn't work for them because they have different background experiences, background knowledge, and things like that, So I think you've raised a very pertinent point when it comes to the need to actually address the different cultural backgrounds.
If I may add on, I just saw something interesting in the comments, and I think that sometimes it's the school's culture as well. At times teachers just don't get support. I remember being very critical. In my own experience, I was very critical for my time. I think I started in 2012, and back then, project-based learning, getting the kids to solve problems was non-existent back then. So when I was doing it, people were like, no, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. You need to dictate, and there is no support. So I think for this to be as effective as possible, we need to get leaders involved as well. Leaders at every level, PPDs, school leaders, principals, middle leaders as well, to be engrossed in this idea. So yeah, teachers need support. I think I believe in teachers. I think teachers have got a lot of capabilities, but they definitely need the support. And I think what Arus is doing is one of the first steps to getting there.
Yes, I agree with what Sam is saying that, and I also read one of the comment here that need to change the kebiasaan in the community, especially in the school environment. It's not like lah biasa je lah, buat biasa-biasa sudah, no more. Okay, don't please practice that, because we can teach our students based on our as what Sam said, the community itself. We can tell them how is your community, how are you going to come out from that particular situation. That is the best example for the students, and from these we can actually incorporate how they can use media and all those things. So these are the things, how they can critically thinking, being practice autonomous learning among students. And yes, the belief, teachers have to put the belief on students, give them the autonomy, ask them to do. It's not like, okay, you are staying in rural area, you are someone from orang asli, so you cannot do. We have to change. Teachers have to change that mindset. And yes, as what Sam said also, everyone should really come, help us, the leaders, the admin, the PPD officers, the SISC plus. There are a lot of people who can come and help the teachers. So we can actually call the SISC plus to come, conduct lessons with us, and some of the outside NGOs and everything. So in this kind of environment, this kind of situation, students will learn a lot. Students will they will come out of their cocoon, I would say.
Right, you are absolutely right, Sahara. I'm just about to enjoy this intellectual discourse, and I just realized that we're running out of time already. Like, how unfortunate. Sahara, Sam, and Chucky, thank you so much. But to the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to type in the comment box, and Sahara, Sam, or Chucky can actually address some of them. Hold on, please check. I have one personal question for myself, if I can ask, because I'm a teacher trainer. So I was wondering, how can media information literacy can be included in pre-service teacher training, especially in preparing these students to be posted into the rural communities. So any one of you would like to take that question? So, I mean, you guys have gone through teacher training programs as well, right? So, I mean, now that, we're talking about media literacy and its importance. So if you were a teacher trainee, what sort of, things would you want to be part of your training, you think? Now that you're a teacher and you've had a lot of experiences, in teaching. Go ahead, Sarah.
Your question reminds me of my time when I was in a T program in Washington. They were actually introducing games, and when they just go through any passages, they just say, okay, how are you evaluating the passage? How are you evaluating the message? So from this kind of thing, actually, this is automatically or indirectly teaching students media literacy. So this is also teaching the pre-service teachers how to do this in the class. So I think, and there are a lot of games online also. Let's say they don't have access to internet, okay? As what Sam said, we do not need to think about this internet, this online stuff and everything. They still have newspapers. Okay, they still have radio and television programs. So from that, we can ask the teachers to come up with, not, I won't say innovation, but some kind of game, some kind of activities to actually incorporate in class during lessons.
Can I add on with the question?
Go ahead.
Okay, I graduated back in 2016, and I got posted immediately 2017. And one of the things that I really want, if I am still a teacher trainee right now, I want myself to be taught that I have the autonomy to collab and work with everyone around me. I'm fortunate enough because my GB taught me that I actually can do more outside the classroom. I can go with the community. I can work with a lot of kampung around me. I can work with a lot of. I can even collab with the outside GOs and NGOs, which were my first time in the school. I don't know I can do that. So there's a lot of us new teachers that back in the day, we don't know we are allowed to do that. We don't know there's no one will stop me from doing that time. Luckily, my GB, my admin helped me. You can do this. They give me guide and all. There's a lot of new ideas. Like Sahara said, new teachers come with good innovation and all. But like Sam said, they cannot do it alone because it won't work if they do it alone. So they need support, not only from the leaders. They need support, motivational support. They need respond and help from the community too, because the community know the kids better than the teachers because they live with the community. So in order to make this, I think one of the way we can make this media literacy go beyond the impact that we want is to get everyone in hand to do it together. That's it.
Right. Here's the thing. We can do anything, but we can't do everything, right? So that's why we need to work together. That's a good one, Cikgu. So there's I saw a question just now, from Mr. Zakaria. Coincidental acquirement of media literacy skills. How far that will influence students nowadays? Sam, you wanna address that? Like instead of teaching it.
Right. Coincidental acquirement of media literacy skills, how far will that influence pupils nowadays? If it happens coincidentally, that's awesome, right? That's great news, right? I think it definitely depends on what kind of context or what kind of family background that they have. A little bit about myself. My dad was he's a man of God, all right? So he does lots of like Bible studies and stuff back at home. So, but he always encourages us to like look at the stuff and we're reading it, ask questions about it, talk about it. And I think that's how I was actually brought up, to be more critical, to keep on asking questions, to see things differently, to have to when I'm reading something, I'm automatically synthesizing, abstracting it, adding something from my past and all that. So I think if it happens coincidentally, it's definitely based on family practices, community practices, and if schools can actually come up with practices like this, like I said earlier on, it definitely depends on the teacher, what the teacher does. In teaching something as simple as reading a text, something as simple as coming up with a program or project-based, doing an exhibition, the process is what matters the most. And if the process is right, I think transitioning towards, specific media literacy skills will be much, much easier.
Right. You're absolutely right. I mean, from the perspective of learning sciences, right? Even if you're on a bus and you chat, you exchange information, that's learning. Even we're chatting right now, we're learning, and this is not something that's formal and structured, but we're learning. Any exchange of information and you retain that information, that's learning.
Correct. So, and the types of questions that you are asking too. I mean, it's not something that it's taught. It came with experience. It came with the things that you've been involved in for the past 20, 30 years or something like that. So yeah, it's. I mean, accidentally acquiring it throughout the year, I think it's part of the experience. And that is why I always advocate for meaningful learning. The learning has got to be meaningful. When it's meaningful, it includes elements such as this, being critical, being able to express oneself.
You always say teaching from the heart, teaching and learning from the heart. So yes, when it's from the heart, it touches the student's heart, and yes, it happens. Everything happens.
Yeah, but it should come from the right type of heart too.
Yes.
Some different types of hearts.
No.
Yeah. I mean, certain teachers with different kinds of principles, like I'm teaching you from my heart, but I'm going to smack the hell out of you. But
no.
You say so. Yeah. I know you get what I mean. Yeah, I know. If you have the right principles, if you have the right foundations as educators, I always say this as well. For me, what's most important is the principles of an educator. Because for Nazmi and I know Nazmi for quite some time already. To him and I, learning is something that acquires students to communicate, to collaborate, to solve problems. To experience things, to create something. But that's just him and I. For some teachers, learning is probably just writing in a book. So if there are contrasting principles, the paradox that exists, the whatever results that we are expecting is just going to be completely different as well. So I think if we can solve this whole principle issues of what teachers believe teaching and learning is and what educating is, I think things like mediating media literacy, bridging that gap between rural communities and urban communities it's going to be much, much easier, most definitely. So yeah, it paints a perfect picture of how important the role of a teacher is.
Right. Teaching is definitely hard work, but it's also hard work. Yeah, hard work. Hard work. Yeah. Sam, Chucky, Sarah, thank you so much for taking our questions. Right. I wish we had more time, but this session is, filled with brilliant insights from the three of you addressing this very pertinent topic, right? So it's a pleasure to have you all with us, and it's a pleasure to have all the audiences with us as well. So this pretty much concludes our webinar, but before we end, I have several important announcements to make, especially when I see in the chat box, people are saying, teachers have to have the right skill set, teachers have to have the right skill set. Now it's actually your chance to actually, walk the talk. So allow me to do some brief announcements here. So we started off by, establishing a movement with the 15 teachers, and we together, with our mentors, we came up with this training program, which is accessible, free of charge to all teachers of all walks of academic disciplines, from primary school or from kindergarten all the way until higher education, right? We also have, the second phase is that we actually have a media education academy, where we, we try to rope in, our target is to actually reach about 3,000 teachers or educators to somewhat join this movement, right? And within the Media Education Academy, we actually have a Media Education Academy challenge. So while you are actually upskilling yourself in media and information literacy skills, right, you get to stand a chance in winning prizes, all right, by participating in this challenge. It's a national level competition for teachers and lecturers. So there will be prizes for school teachers, there will be prizes for lecturers or educators teaching in higher education. You're required to build a lesson plan and teaching aids that integrate media and information literacy into your subjects. And we will have a briefing on the 16th of September. That's a great way to spend Malaysia Day, right? And it will be held in collaboration with eDidik Malaysia and UPSI. So why don't you, go ahead to our Facebook page and you can sign up there. All right. The next one is, of course, we would want you to enroll in the Media Education Academy course that we have, day and night, night and day for months on end. We have, set out, time together to put this together to offer it to everyone in Malaysia. So, Sir Hazwan, could you roll this video and let us watch the Media Education Academy video, please? All right, and Hazwan, Sir Asai also has something to say, right? Would you like to roll that video for us?
Demo tahu tak?
你知道吗？ Tahukah anda?
Tahu sih.
Tahu tak? Hanya 4 daripada 10 rakyat Malaysia.
Hanya 4 daripada 10 orang di Malaysia percaya berita yang diorang baca.
Daripada 10 orang rakyat Malaysia, 4 orang saja yang percaya berita yang mereka baca.
63% daripada penduduk dunia kita percaya bahawa orang lain ni tak boleh bezakan antara maklumat betul dengan maklumat salah.
Tok Boy, ini masalah besar tau.
Tok, adalah masalah besar. Kami nak nyambut semua kita orang, pendidik Malaysia, ikut kami.
Kami menyeru para pendidik Malaysia,
我们呼吁马来西亚的教育工作者参与我们，一同培育马来西亚国民的媒体识读能力。
Sertai kami untuk membina kemahiran literasi media dan maklumat di negara kita.
Cepat-cepat kita pakat reti belako pasal literasi media dengan maklumat.
கல்வியாளர்கள் ஆகிய நாங்கள் இந்நாட்டின் முன்னோடிகள். இது தவறான தகவல்களை பரப்புவதற்கு எதிரானது.
Let's empower our students together.
快来参与我们的 Media Education Academy 吧！完成免费课程后，还能获得文凭呢。
Jom perkasakan anak didik kita bersama-sama.
Jom, jangan duk ralik lagi. Kita sertai Media Education Academy.
Jom sertai kami di Media Education Academy.
All right, so as I was saying, our goal is to actually train 3,000, at least 3,000 teachers or educators, to get them on board to use the MEA course by the end of this year. And we are actually already, not like halfway. We're past halfway. I think we've managed to enroll close to 2,000 teachers now. All right. And I hope you can help make us, help make our goal a reality of reaching at least 3,000 teachers by year end. So we started really small, and we definitely need more teachers and lecturers like yourself to join us in this movement to build critical thinkers and smarter media consumers among our students. And if we have gotten you excited, inspired, to get on board tomorrow, what better way to enjoy your weekend than to actually spend some time learning something new. So we actually have our workshop tomorrow at 2 to 4 p.m. So our course, or our module, actually has so our course has 6 modules, and tomorrow we will be zooming into one of the modules. All right, so this is in collaboration with UPSI's Communication and Media Department. And you will be able to learn about the types of misinformation and disinformation. You'll learn something called the echo chamber and what you can do to get out of the situation. So let's start the MEA course together. If you do it on your own, and then you might get lost, or you might get sidetracked and things like that. So why don't we start and do it together, perhaps tomorrow? And the best thing is that, and teachers love this, I love this, we actually will be given a certificate, and you will also be given LADAP hours. All right, so again, head over to our Facebook and you'll be able to sign up there. And then let me check what else we have. Right, so that is pretty much all the announcements that I have to make. I think I'll end up by saying that we cannot process information if we cannot understand the difference between news and propaganda. If we can't process this, then we are functionally illiterate in the 21st century. The thing is, we may be able to read, we may be able to write, we may be able to, post a lengthy Facebook post, or we may be able to tweet and retweet and reshare, and go viral and things like that. But if we can't process information correctly, we're really at the mercy of those who can manipulate us, and that's very, very dangerous, right? It's a very dangerous thing. So young people cannot be active and fully engaged citizen in a democratic Malaysia if they are not able to critically process the news and information that they receive. And of course, it starts at home, that's one thing, but it also starts in the school with us as the teacher, as the educator, okay? So I guess with that ends our session for this evening. Thank you everyone for attending, and we hope you have learned and enjoyed this episode's Sembang Literasi Media. We hope you're on board with us on our way of moving forward in elevating our country's media literacy skills as a whole. So thank you very much. Have a great, safe weekend. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone.